LA Rowdies, who have made a huge upset.
Your 2021 Eastern Conference champion.
A 10-point Oh, that is a delicious goal for Tampa Bay.
And now, you're tuned into Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Cole coming at you for the RBLR Sports podcast. As you can see, tonight I am coming from a different location, and I am pet sitting for my parents. So that is why there is a mat behind me instead of a usual KC Musgraves cowboy hat. Yeah, we're going from map to hat this week, folks. It's going to be a big transition, and I'm not sure how it's going to go tonight, but as always, I've got my co-host to walk me through this and try and get me out of the woods. Carlos, how are you doing? Are you prepared to help me through this evening?
I'm just looking at the map, to be honest. I see little like dots. Is that like where they've traveled back there? The little dots.
It is a Knowles World Travels of the Knowles family. And because I came to the house when I was originally a teenager, I started putting all of our future destinations in bad locations, and the flag that represented the next desired location for a trip in Pyongyang, North Korea. And so my parents have not figured out how to hide it from me while they're not here at their own house. So we'll see how it goes.
That's that one would be interesting. Yeah, I'm sure that one would be fun. Some great soccer over there, I'm sure. They do have, fun fact, the biggest stadium in the world. I learned that recently. That's kind of crazy. Whatever. North Korea, fun facts. James, the Rowdies won this past week. I'm excited. I'm wearing my bright yellow obnoxious Rowdies t-shirt. I love wearing it out and about because it just screams highlighter and obnoxious and Tampa Bay Rowdies, which is really what the Rowdies are all about. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of bright colors, the green and yellow clash. And the yellow makes me feel happy. And I'm happy, James. So that's the vibe right now. It's really gray outside here in Arlington, Virginia. It's been storming all day. It feels a lot like Tampa this time of year, except it's been raining all day. And it's not just like a summer shower. You know what I mean? Might get some rain this weekend in Naples. That's a fun trip coming up. And I'll plug this multiple times that you should be getting down there if you're not doing anything on your 4th of July weekend, or if you want to spend your 4th of July weekend with your family. Like, I don't know, but it seems like there's not many better ways to spend it than at a Rowdies game down in Naples. I'm excited for that, James. I'll be there. I know you're going to be there. We should have a great time with a good traveling contingent.
And if I can just jump in real fast, if you are trying to travel down there and you would like to not worry about going and doing the actual driving yourself, hey, reach out to Ralph's mom. They have a bus. They have an actual bus going down. You'll be with just Rowdies fans. You'll be with just Rowdies friends. And as I said, you don't have to worry about driving. You can do whatever you want. I think that's a pretty good option. Yeah,
for sure. You don't have to worry about getting a hotel down there. You can just kind of make your way back nice and easy. The info, you can find the info on the Ralph's Mob Twitter as well. I saw that recently. If you're in the Discord, it's in there. There's a few spots left. So definitely take advantage of that. Like James said, super helpful for a quick round trip to celebrate 4th of July weekend and hopefully another Rowdies win with a good chunk of your closest Rowdies friends, James. I'm really excited about that. I'm going home for the weekend. And that's part of my weekend adventure is getting down to Naples with my family and my girlfriend for this one. So super excited. I'm looking forward to it. Won't be my first Rowdies away game of the year, but I'm really excited to visit Naples. It seems like they have a cool little thing going there. It's only growing, so good for them. James, what else is going on in my life? It's rainy. It's hot outside. It's humid. But the vibes are good. The Rowdies win. I'm happy. Everything's good. How are you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Other than the aforementioned cats who are going nuts around. Well, right now, luckily they've eaten, so that it's a little bit more calm. But other than that, everything is fine. I am actually in Tampa, not even in Bradenton this week. So maybe I'll hop in the pool after this. But we got to see how it goes. We got to see how the vibes are. As Carlos said, though, I think the vibes are actually pretty good. You know why, folks? Because well, probably you do know why. But if you don't happen to know why, last week the Rowdies beat Indy 11 3-1 at home at Al Lang Stadium. It was an interesting night. The amount of people there was probably not the same number as the amount that they sold in tickets, but that's okay because the fans who did stay got to see a comeback win against Indy 11, and honestly, one of our better performances, I would say, probably over the course of 2025 so far. So pretty good stuff there. On the other side of things, now we do have a Jager Cup game coming up against Naples. We've already talked a little bit about that. Reach out to Ralph's Mob if you would like to get on the bus. Even if you don't want to get on the bus, you should get tickets and you should get down there to Naples this weekend. It's Friday. Most everybody has the day off because it's the 4th of July. There's really no reason that you should not be going to this game. If you are a fan, get your tickets and get down there. And
you have the rest of the weekend. It's a Friday game. It's awesome, James. It's just perfect. It's perfect.
Exactly. And while we're on tickets, I do want to highlight our own ticket competition. Bring a new person to any Rowdies home game. Tag us on social media with a picture of you and this new person at the Rowdies game, and you are entered to win free tickets to one of the games where the Rowdies will be celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the actual brand and the club being founded. So I think that that's honestly one of the better things that our producer Eureka has been able to work out over the course of our doing this podcast. It's really awesome that we can try to, the whole thing that I think we're working on here is to try and bring more fans into the Rowdies community, into the fan base itself. So this is the way that we're trying to do that. And please take advantage of it. Like and subscribe to our podcast, and you can also follow us on YouTube, any major podcast platform, whatever you want. Social medias as well. We are at RBLR Sports on all the social media places that you are. Please, if we could, Carlos, let's get started on the quick recap of this game versus Indy 11 before we move on to bigger and better things on Friday.
Absolutely. James, with all due respect to Indy 11, we are moving on to bigger and better things after this, but this was a great one. Always fun to beat Indy 11, who seems to be a club that we have a number in the past several years of our kind of head-to-head history with them. Bondre in goal, not surprising here at this point. Seems like he's taken the goalkeeper one spot over Ken Pesey, we could say. Getting the start now, and I should have this number. Several games in a row. Castellanos, Wyke, and Guillen in front of him. Notably, Lasso is still on the bench, kind of coming off as a closer off of the bench in the second half. Van Kazeel in front of him with Crisostomo, Luis Alvarez, Lewis Hilton, and Bodley out on the wing back spot. And then, of course, Ruben Casillas and Manu Arteaga, your two strikers up top, who had a quiet-ish day, both of them, I think. I think we could point to Manu Arteaga particularly wanting to have one moment in this game back when he got that penalty and unfortunately skied it just over the bar. That, James, came after the Rowdies went down 1-0 right before halftime. It was a pretty cagey first half, like you would imagine, after such a long delay.
Yeah.
Took a while for the players to kind of come out and get into a rhythm. The field was really wet. There's a portion on that on the Mahaffey Theater side of the field. There was a portion of the field that was still very much wet and a huge dark spot. When you're looking at it on the screen, you
could see the players were unintentionally, of course, but tearing it up out there. They were really the people who are going to have to relay some grass are going to have to relay a lot of grass.
Oh yeah, and it definitely messed up with the flow of play sometimes, but it's the way things go in Tampa Bay area. I was gonna say Tampa, Florida, but I know the St. Pete loyalists would have gotten mad at me. I'm sorry, almost slipped there. It was a weird first half. The vibes were, again, kind of crazy after such a long delay. If you were watching this at home like I was, the broadcast was all sorts of messed up. I don't know what happened to the main camera, but the camera they had was way off center and it was super far away.
Yeah.
Looked super strange. The audio sounded like Star Wars lasers for a little bit. For 10 minutes, it was like robots in the commentator booth. Every time Ralph's Mob hit the drum, it sounded like a literal laser from Star Wars, but they fixed that after a good 15, 20 minutes. Point is, on the field, Rowdies had a decent first half, we could say, nothing crazy. Bondry was forced to make a couple big saves. He's kind of settled into that starting role now and done, I would say, rather well in this game in particular. The back line held up pretty well, I would say, as well. And unfortunately, Indy takes the lead, like I said, before halftime with a world beater of a goal from Malik Foster. So highly unfortunate. It's been the way things have gone this year for us, though, James. It feels like other teams have had wonder goals against us, and we've struggled to put anything in the back of the net. Another trend we can point to real quick, by the way, conceded first, in a position to have to come back. And then, fortunately for us in this game, we actually did do that. In the second half, after the Arteaga botched penalty, just a few minutes later, Bodley was able to get on the score sheet. He would be subbed off just a few minutes after that for Nick Moon, who would immediately go on to score his goal right after coming onto the field. So a great sub there. Great timing from Steve Coleman on that one. And then, of course, the Wyke goal to close out the night in the 93rd minute, a play that I said in the Ralph's Mob chat in the Discord, in the match chat there. A play that made me a little emotional, James. I'm not going to lie. It was just a hard fought game. The boys have been obviously in a really tough part of the season.
It was hard fought.
The field was in these very strange conditions, and the stadium was mostly empty. Just grit out there, though, and you could see the grit in that play. Woobs obviously exhausted from running around the field for 96 minutes and 93 minutes at this point in the game. He gets the ball, holds up to Indy defenders, lays it off for Bassett, who has some more fresh legs, who puts in a long cross on the floor where Wyke is able to find it on the other end of the post. Initially, celebrations, and then I was like, what the hell is Wyke doing up there? I don't even care. Are you kidding me? He scored the goal. He sprinted down there. The way he was celebrating, the way the boys were celebrating, just showed some incredible heart and grit. Where if you take nothing else away from this season, the fact that we are where we are on the table is certainly not for a lack of effort. And you could tell in this one, you know what I mean? It was clear that they wanted the points. They're still fighting. It was just a really, really nice way to end this one. Rowdies win this one 3-1. We're back off of the mat, back off of the bottom of the table. Hartford does have 2 games in hand on us, but they are rather awful at soccer. I would hope that they drop those games to whoever they play. They're really struggling as well. Although they've had some moments this year where they've kind of found their rhythm in the last couple weeks, but who knows? The USL is a strange league, James. Anything can happen. Anyone can beat anybody. But what's not surprising, Louisville City is still in first place. That's something you've heard many times over the past 6, 7, 8 seasons of USL soccer. Charleston right behind them shouldn't be surprising. Loudoun in third place. North Carolina FC, sneaky good this year, in fourth place behind Loudoun. And then Detroit, fifth place. North Carolina is one of my more interesting teams to watch this year. Not one that I had really any expectations for. But they've quickly turned things around after very recently getting brought up. I'm not going to say promoted, brought up from League One into the championship. So good for the Railhawks, James. I'm happy the Railhawks are doing well.
They'll never fly alone, I've heard.
They'll never fly alone. Speaking of NASL, there's some news we can throw in here later on in extra time about another former NASL team that might be joining the USL ranks, ?
Everybody stay tuned for that.
Stick around for that. Out west, New Mexico United, 25 points. El Paso, 23. Another surprising team. Tulsa behind them. San Antonio, Phoenix rising from the ashes after back-to-back rather horrible seasons on their standards. Phoenix Rising is a team that's been so good for much of their short-ish history. But they've been struggling to bounce back. And it seems like this year they're kind of finding their Phoenix rising rhythm again, finding out who they are. They're in fifth place, James. Keep an eye on them. They're a pretty good team. Of course, they did have that championship run that Arteaga was a part of. Now, Tampa Bay Rowdy. And that's where we are in the USL. Any other interesting stories happening around the USL on the table, James? Anything else?
Well, the issue is that the Rowdies played their game on a Wednesday, and it was in the league. And the vast majority of games that were played on the weekend were actually in the Jager Cup. So we'd be more pressed to talk about the interesting ones from the weekend, specifically when we get to the preview, because that would be about the Jager Cup. But yeah, it is. There were definitely some upsets there. I'll point that out.
Yeah.
But there were also some games that were not upsets, like let's say Rhode Island beating Portland 4-1.
Yeah.
Maybe that one was something that people might have expected.
with their coach ending up on the roof of the stadium. Did you see that?
Beautiful. That is USL heritage right there.
I was took the words out of my mouth, James. USL heritage, culture. Who says we don't have history?
Who says we don't have history? We can put Conno Smith on a roof. You'll never sing that.
Yeah. These are the things you miss out on if you just watch the Premier League or La Liga. You know what I'm saying? You miss out on people being on the roof coaching their teams. This is the USL, James, the greatest league in the world, and the Rowdies are a part of it. Unfortunately, they're not too hot, but they did get a win in this one, and they're maybe turning things around. They look good, James. Let's talk about it. Okay, better performance. Let's just big picture. Obviously, coming off of a struggle bus in Pittsburgh. Where, again, we were having to come back after conceding first. You can say the same thing about the game against Miami and Louisville and Tormenta the week before that. You'll notice a trend. And Lexington before that. Of course, Rhode Island before that, but they actually won that one. So it's been interesting to watch how ever since that Lexington game on May 24th, Rowdies concede first, go on to tie. Against South Georgia Tormenta, Rowdies concede first, go on to win. In Louisville, we concede first. And then, again, we concede a second goal. And then we play a really, really great run of soccer. Like, the Rowdies played a great 70 minutes of soccer out in Louisville. Against Miami, we really turned things around after conceding in the 42nd minute with the stoppage time winner in that one. Pittsburgh, throwaway game. We didn't play well in that one. That's fine. Not fine. We didn't really – I think the way we talked about it last week is that we didn't really look like we showed up for it. And in this one, we concede first and then, again, go on to get a result and actually win this one in really impressive fashion. So I think you can point to some pretty clear improvement over the past month or so, which has been really nice to watch. It's turning into some results. It's turning into some wins. If you're on Thought Mob, it's not all red anymore. It's gray. There's a couple of red spots in there, but there's 3 green boxes on there too. Like, it's, you know what I mean? So just looking at the win column, it starts to look better. Do you see that performance, James? Are you seeing improvement, or are we getting lucky? Like, I don't think so. But I see a lot of grit here. Obviously, I don't want to be conceding first every game. I don't want to be conceding at all, right? But again, like, this is a theme I've been saying every week now at this point. It's like there's a lot of grit here. We're fighting back. You know what I mean? We're coming back from in the table. We're towards the bottom of the table, right? We were in last place, but we're picking ourselves off the mat every week. We're trying to go out there, and even though we're conceding first, we're following it up with really great soccer. And in this game, I think we started with pretty good soccer and then closed with really great soccer after conceding. Do you see improvement out here, James? What's catching your eye? Maybe broadly over the last month or so, but more importantly in this game in particular against Indy.
Yeah, I think that the Rowdies overall have been improving. Obviously, that I think that you and I were both leading in that direction, but of course, that's why we put the question in the doc, right? So that we could lead into something that was positive here. But I do think the Rowdies are overall improving, and I want to point to a couple of different things. We started the season with a different formation, and it was something that you and I had concerns over at different parts of the season, because I think that the roster that we built is top heavy is a word. Is bottom heavy a word? I guess it could be, but I haven't really heard it used that often. But the point is that we've had a lot of defenders on this roster, right? Yeah. We've had a lot of defenders on the roster, and it really seemed as though we had built up a group of players who would be able to play with 3 at the back, wing backs, and then especially because by this time the season started, we only had 3 real strikers, and one of those, of course, is 17, still 17, if I'm not mistaken. So it was one where when we weren't playing with 3 at the back and wing backs, I said, okay, we got to see how it goes. They are seeing a lot more than you and I are because they're seeing what's happening in training. And training is where you build up to being able to achieve certain things during the week or not, obviously. So that is a very important aspect to consider. But for a long period, the results weren't there. And I don't know if it's because of the transition that was clearly happening in the back room because Robbie Nielsen had left. Nicky Law had left before that. That wasn't necessarily part of the season, but we have brought in a coach during the offseason who all of a sudden goes from assistant to your prospective head coach for the rest of the season. And that's probably going to take some type of toll on any players because there is a little bit of whiplash. Maybe you're receiving one set of instructions and then a new set of instructions. So I can understand how it would be difficult to take all that in. And then over that period, the results still weren't coming, obviously. And then we got through the month of May where almost nothing good happened, at least for the green and gold, maybe for other teams, maybe blue and gold if you're a Tampa fan. But the green and golds were not doing exactly what everybody wanted. So I think at a certain point, it was just best to revert to a system that the majority of players who are already here or who have been here before already knew. And I think that everybody getting back into that system was probably for the better, just for familiarity's sake, in all honesty. If you go a little bit farther than that, we've had a couple players return from injuries. Pacific Nyongabire is still out. Leo Fernandez, who was supposed to start a game recently, he is still out. However, Nick Moon is back and is in a position where he could start. He is not starting because Thomas Van Kaziel has seemingly cemented himself into, right now, the right wing back position. So good enough for Van Kaziel, but Nick Moon is back. Blake Bodley was also missing for a couple of games, and he's back. Lewis Hilton, I think, is probably the most important amongst these. And if I'm speaking out of turn, I don't know who's going to call me out, but Lewis Hilton being there versus Lewis Hilton being out is an incredible difference maker, in all honesty. There are very few players across the entire USL Championship that I think can hold a candle to him. Possibly Aaron Malloy is the only other one that I might lift up. Carlos is not going with me on that one, and that's perfectly fine. But overall, I think that us getting these players back into the positions that we want them, and in addition to that, them playing in positions where they're probably more familiar is very beneficial. Of course, the other person to mention is Luis Alvarez, and I do think Luis Alvarez has had a marked improvement on this team. I guess that's possibly a little hint for a sub-segment later on in this review, but Luis Alvarez did very well in this game as well as a couple of other games. I think that this is progress, and we can break down individual games here. Of course, at this point, it gets to when we're second from bottom, it is hard to break down individual games and say, what are the trends from this game? What are the trends from the previous game? You want to look at trends in a longer period so that we can hopefully get out of this specific position. And maybe put ourselves in a spot where we're challenging to get into the playoffs come September, October. I think that would be good. Obviously, I'm assuming Carlos will come with me on that one at least. But,
I like that take. I would in the playoffs. Yeah.
But I think that we're doing the stuff right now that we need to get us there. Luis Alvarez started in front of Lewis Hilton and Danny Crisostomo, and I really think on their day, Lewis Hilton and Danny Crisostomo playing together can be a very, very good midfield partnership in the USL Championship. I think that it can be possibly, without getting ahead of myself, but I do think that it could be an elite level partnership in the USL Championship specifically. And for those two to be able to work together and understand each other, first of all, you need more reps, obviously. But I think that will help if they have better outlets ahead of them. Ollie Bassett came in, and I think that he's done well in certain games this season. Maybe he hasn't done exactly what we've wanted in every game this season. But if you have somebody who can spell in his position, in this case, it's going to be Luis Alvarez because Leo Fernandez is still injured. That really bodes well. I think the two of them together offer a very good option, either if you want to put them in those half spots where I think we saw a couple of different players last season, most notably Josh Perez was very good in this position on the left side last season. So if you want to think of it like that, Ollie Bassett has done that over on the left this season. But if you want to put them more central and have two strikers up top, which is something that the Rowdies have done a lot this season, I think Ollie Bassett or Luis Alvarez can play that role really well. And that gives you two very good threats in Wubens Pacius and Manuel Arteaga. In up top positions, obviously, they're going to roam a little bit and help out here and there on either side. But this one is a real culmination of all of those things at the same time. And finally, Carlos's prior word, grit. To dial it back one more time and look at the very micro trends of this specific game, we give up a goal and we go in at halftime 1-0 down. The Rowdies over the course of this season, that has been a very poor indicator for us. That has not gone well for us in a lot of games so far. Sometimes, to be fair, but previously we have struggled to come back and then win a game, especially to come back and win a game. This one, we come out in the second half. We're starting to look a little bit better. I think everybody can agree with that. We get a penalty and we miss that. Imagine mentally the hammer blow that is to earn a penalty and then you miss it. That's really tough. To overcome those two items, let's say, and then level the game, take the lead, be the team to score the goal in stoppage time and not to give up a goal in stoppage time. It's honestly, all of those things are very positive individually, but together it is a very good. I think that it could put us, depending on how this week goes, because I feel like this could be a really good spot for us to build up some confidence. We're going to talk about that later, of course, but I think this could be a really good spot for us to build up some confidence and actually start knocking down some wins over the course of hopefully July and August and put ourselves in a better position when we get into the crunch time of the season.
Yeah. And obviously, you don't ever really want to be in a position where you're trying to fight for a playoff spot from second to last place. But it is about, how you close out the season, right? Like if you get hot at the right time, you can be Phoenix Rising squad that goes on and wins the whole thing, right?
Not only Phoenix Rising, not anybody else.
Yeah. Obviously, we got a long way to go. We're still building, right? It still feels like we're putting the pieces together. And like you said, we have a chance to really kind of ramp up the momentum on Friday. But there's a lot of lessons learned from this really kind of ugly part of the season that we've gone through that could be beneficial long term, right? And it's coming together, right? Okay, so now the Rowdies have scored in stoppage time in their last 3 home games in a row, right? At this point, including this one. This one, they used it to close out the game, right? The 3-1, the third goal, put the nail in the coffin, game over, time to celebrate. Against Miami, that goal from, who was it? Arteaga? Yeah, Arteaga in the 92nd minute, game winner. Back in May against Tormenta, Bassett in the 94th minute. So these are all like the Rowdies have gotten comfortable-ish, I guess we could say, coming back from down 1-0. Again, we don't like being down 1-0, but it's good to know that there's some grit there, right? That's the word I've used a lot over the past few weeks.
Instead of we started this podcast in 2025, not started the podcast overall, but we started this season in 2025 as Rowdies hype. Let's say maybe this is Rowdies grit or grit Rowdies. I don't know which of those sounds better to everybody.
Sure.
We can't take gritty because that's already a very silly mascot for another team. So
Sure.
Folks, write in how you would prefer to put grit into the Rowdies name overall.
Sure. I buy it. It's just, it's good to see, right? I think it's so easy to give up on a game at this point of the season already. Like, I know there's still just over half a season to be played, just in the regular season, not counting Jager Cup, right? I think it's really easy to go down 1-0 and call it a day. Like you said, miss a penalty, especially for Arteaga, who, by the way, has been hot recently, right? Like, he's figured it out. He scored against Pittsburgh. He scored the game winner against Miami. He didn't score against Louisville, but after struggling for the majority of this early part of the year, back-to-back games with goals, with a third game now, the Indy game this past week, having a penalty lined up to make it 3 games in a row. Like, for him, having that little bit of momentum coming together after a really, really poor start to the year, and then to sky that, like, it's very much kind of Rowdies-esque this year, right? We've put some things together and then we've shot ourselves in the foot. But in this game, I can't really think of an apt comparison. I was going to say we shot ourselves in the foot, but we finished the race. I don't know. Is that corny? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, but it's okay. Like, because we finished in first place still here. Like, we went on and closed out the second half with, like, playing to our strengths, right? Woobs had a really interesting game in this one that won't really show up in the score sheet the same way that, like, goals will. But he used his really, like, solid frame on him to lead to that stoppage time goal. And I think the first goal as well. Let me fact check myself. That's one of Woobs' strengths that I feel like we haven't utilized as much this year. Maybe we're trying to play him through a lot and kind of just play him over the top and hope for a Cal Jennings-esque type of finish where he takes on 3 guys. He's done that before this year. Like,
I was just about to say, somehow the hardest part of Cal Jennings' game is the part that we seem to have recreated the easiest.
Yeah. And then, but I think we're missing out a lot on, and I'm pointing over here. I realize no one can see, but I have my monitor over here. Like, this part of Woobs' game has been, I think, underutilized this year. That physical presence, hold up play, right? That's what led to Bodley's goal, right? Bodley puts in a really simple pass to Woobs. He's holding up one of Indy's backline guys and just lays it back off to Bodley, who now has a ton of space right in front of the box, sprints in, lays it off for Arteaga, ball ends up back up Bodley, and we equalize. Later on, Woobs would still use the little bit of energy he has left to hold on to that ball, draw a couple defenders, and then lay it off for Bassett, which would go on to lead to the 3-1 goal, right? The third goal. That's something I loved to see, even though he doesn't get credited with an assist or anything. If this was hockey, he would get an assist for both of them. You know what I mean? Arteaga, like, another note on him, obviously, despite missing the penalty, like, he was involved still before getting subbed off in the 73rd minute. He was getting involved. He was drawing defenders. Obviously got, like, not really an assist, but kind of an assist by, like, sort of getting that ball back to Bodley, even though it was unintentional. Like, he was celebrating like he scored the goal. Like, he was happy. Like, it means a lot to the guys, which is really, really important. I think there's a lot of self-belief despite being where we are on the table. And that's really, really important, right? You can't really turn the season around if you're not getting the wins, obviously, but you can't get the wins if you don't really, like, you know, believe that you can. Like, even if, no matter how corny that is, right? There has to be a certain sense of, like, understanding that we can beat basically anyone we play against in this league. Despite where we're on the table, it doesn't really indicate what this team is. You know what I mean? It indicates how we've played this year, potentially, but it doesn't indicate what this team really is. I think this Indy game showed that. Again, grit, heart, just emotion, passion for the team, passion for you know, the game, and you could tell that they were playing for each other, and a little bit of fans that were left in the stadium after this crazy rain delay. Like, it was incredible to see. Obviously, like I said, Moon highlight coming off the bench and immediately scoring, incredible stuff. Alvarez was playing to his strengths there as well. Like, he's drifting out wide and plays a little 1-2 with Moon, makes a run out, makes a run right into the box, and, you know, gets his goal there. So there's a lot of guys just playing to their strengths, playing well, playing how we know, right? Going back to what you said about the formational adjustments. It's worked in the past for us, and it works now. You know what I mean? If you have the right guys to do it, and you can make the subs at the right time, manage the players right, you know, keep that back line tight, like, it can work. Speaking of the back line, James, Indy's goal was a wonder goal.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to critique the back line on in this game? Despite, I mean, we still don't have that clean sheet, but there's almost nothing you can say about this back line in this one. Like, again, things coming together game by game, piece by piece. And even, by the way, Lasso, despite being, super sub defensively, which is not something you see all that often, he's come in off of the bench now a couple times in the past few weeks to close out a game. It's really fascinating because he'll come in like the 88th minute and be like almost like a baseball closer. He's like heading the balls away as the other teams are trying to cross in balls or whatever. Fascinating to see. But the back line that we played with of Guillen, Wyke, and Castellanos looked good. I mean, they looked okay. Bondre was forced to make maybe one pretty big save. But other than that, between them and the midfield guys in front of them, there wasn't a lot getting through. Indy scored, like I said, a wonder goal. But other than that, I mean, they took shots in this one. Jack Blake had it feels like Jack Blake took all their shots from outside the box. You know what I mean? But they weren't particularly threatening. And I think that's a testament to, the sound tactics in this one. Just like the good tight block we had in the back that wouldn't really let anything through. Is there anything to say about the back line in this one? Like we've been able to critique moments in the past few games, right? Where it's like, oh, there's a lapse of judgment here, a guy missed his mark here, then Casey own goal, Williams wide open and get not that he's in the back line, well, wing back kind of. Augie Williams in Pittsburgh gets his head on the ball in the 6-yard box. Like that should never be happening. Then this one, like again, it sucks that we conceded first and we don't get that clean sheet. But most of this game, if not all of it, was good from the back line. There's clear improvements almost at every position. We're getting goals from the wings, which is awesome. Strikers can kind of find their rhythm, and the wings are playing well at the same time. Like that's a recipe for wins, James. So as it all slowly comes together, I can't say for sure if we're ever going to really turn things around and like make a run, win 20 games in a row, right? Be realistic too. But as things start to by piece come together, like this is what you're going to get, right? I would like a first clean sheet of the year sooner rather than later, but there's clear improvements at almost every position on this field, and I'm loving it.
I would only critique one thing, and I just would point out that I think the giveaway that led to the goal was very poor. I'll say that. I think it was Blake Bodley whose pass was just like straight to Indy 11. Other than that, no, you're right. It was a wonder goal, and how it made me go back to that same phrase that we used the week before, which was, I guess, at the time already a call back to the month of May, where everything was it rains, it pours. If you're gonna have something unlucky happen, like somebody hits a wonder goal, it's gonna be at this moment. But yeah, that don't have the giveaway. Other than that, I think that it was just very, very good technique, obviously, but also a fair bit of luck for Indy 11. So
True.
Fair enough there.
And if
Other
you're
than
gonna
that,
have
I
that
think you're right.
giveaway, if you're gonna have that giveaway, if you're Bodley, you make up for it later, right? Like
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I love
Exactly.
that. I can't really think of other words other than grit. It's the only word at the top of my mind right now. But if there's any synonyms for that, let me know and I'll start using them. But it worked. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of intangibles I think you could see pretty clearly on the field. And it was good to see. So
Yes.
3 points is 3 points, no matter how you get them. But I'm happy about the way we got them in this one, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's really not too much that you can complain about when you look at the course of the whole game. There are individual things, just like I said, Blake Bodley's giveaway was not what we would like there, but he did make up for it. And I think that he ultimately added, not just in the obvious ways, but I think that he did a lot more stuff that we're not going like, oh, this didn't appear on the score sheet. And it really does add to the way that the Rowdies are playing overall. It is building up confidence. And I think that the confidence is something that you can't measure confidence. There's no way to put it on a scale and you're like, oh, we've got this much, we've got that much. But we're building that up. We're starting to get to where we need to be, and the players are remembering how good they can all be. They are good players. They do have a lot more to give, no matter where they are in their careers. They just need to remember, you aren't here. You are here. That's the level of your skill. So play like it, and we're going to get a lot more of these results.
Sure.
Carlos, is there anything that we need to hit on before we move on to our man of the match for this one?
No, I'm just waiting for Leo and Jager to make their way back as well, and we'll have everything we need to really kind of keep pushing. I mean, the roster is still pretty thin depth wise, so the more players we have, the better. Maybe we go out and pick someone up. I don't know. I hope there's like maybe one more signing out there for depth purposes at this point, because we really are like one more injury away from kind of losing the rhythm we have right now.
I think that's fair.
So, yeah, I mean, most of these guys, if you think about who we can replace them with, things start to get a little bit shaky, right? I think it's not a coincidence that we're feeling more of a turnaround as our guys are coming back, right? Into full health. Moon, Bodley, Hilton. Anybody else that was out for a while? Key guys, right? That we've had to kind of plug and play other people. It's like Joey Skinner's got some starts earlier this year. He's great, but he's a good, in my mind, depth piece right now. And it's just good to have our guys back. And I really want to see Leo back, get some minutes out of him again.
Yeah.
He's great, like super sub at this point, coming back from injury still. Jager is another great. We got a rhythm thing going right now, but he'd be a great super sub if he's ready for a few minutes a game as well as he comes back from injury. A good 10 minutes out of him, energy down the sideline, make a play, take guys on one-on-one, and get a goal when you might need one. Like, that's that type of guy you want on the bench as well. So just hoping we get those guys back, or maybe go out and pick up someone on the market. Who knows? I am currently signed to FC Georgetown alumni squad, so I can't make it to St. Pete, unfortunately, for the Rowdies. But James, are you on the market? Can they sign you to like a backup striker role or whatnot?
Well, I will say I have been playing a lot more soccer over the course of this summer. So I think I am just about there. I'm like this close to being ready to be a backup striker, especially a striker, a spot that I did not play growing up at my low levels. But yes, I think that I'm just about ready to challenge Endry Mustali for his spot as the guy coming off the bench. I'm there. I'm
there
good
you
to
go.
Endry, I'm coming for you. I know you're already much taller and stronger and faster than I ever was, but just wait, buddy. Just wait.
I played this weekend. I played like 20, 25 minutes in our summer league over here in DC, and I was ready to pass out. Like, I don't know. Like, every time I step out on a soccer field, I get more appreciation for what these guys do for 90 minutes, 96 minutes at a time, right? Stoppage time and everything. It's pretty impressive. I go out there and I try to run for a good half hour before getting subbed out. Brutal, especially in the heat in the summer. These guys are warriors, physically and tactically. It's coming together. We can get some wins now, James. So, okay. I think we've hit on everything we need to for this indie game, James. Fair. Man of the match.
Let's do it.
I'm going to take Lawrence Wyke in this one. I think, like I said, about most of the back line, about the entire back line had a great game. I think Wyke was really, really noticeable in this one. I think one of the things I was really excited about having him back in the back line is that he's a guy who's played a lot in the midfield in his career. He can distribute the ball. He can move the ball well. He likes to evidently get up the field, as you saw when he scored that third goal for the Rowdies in this one. I think you saw him playing the ball a lot more confidently in this one. Like, I like to see him play out of the back because, again, I think he's the guy I trust the most out of Gia and him and Lawrence Wyke and Castellanos to kind of make those passes from the back. He was doing that a bit in this game. Obviously got up and scored the goal and was defensively super sound in this one. So I'm really happy with him. I think he settled in, like, back into a rhythm. Like, he avoided the silly yellow cards he got maybe earlier this year, which would have been a knock on his mob rating or something. earlier in the year. He's avoided those. So, again, clear improvement from a lot of guys on this team. I think Lawrence Wyke is certainly one of them. So, and again, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't get a little bit emotional on that last goal. It was just incredible heart from everybody on the field, and seeing him sprint up from the back to put that ball away was something really, really fun to watch. Lawrence Wyke, my man of the match.
Your man of the match got a goal. My man of the match only, and I say only lightly, of course, but only got an assist. Luis Alvarez is my man of the match for this one. I think that not only did he get the assist, but we have seen him. The Rowdies scouted this guy ahead of buying him, clearly, because he has turned into a very good player. I think as soon as he started actually getting into the starting 11, and we saw how much he has to offer over the course of a whole game, he's opened my eyes. I'll tell you, I didn't pay a lot of attention to Charlotte Independence, and maybe I should have. But Luis Alvarez has been a very good signing, and I think that this game was, I guess I used this word earlier, but it was the culmination of a lot of trends, and I think that Luis Alvarez, this was the culmination of a lot of hard work. So he is my man of the match for this one. I think for the last 2 weeks, Carlos and I chose the same person each week. This time, both of us have chosen somebody who had not earned an RBLR Man of the Match award up until this past weekend. So very good for both Lawrence Wyke and Luis Alvarez. Now, before we move on, I do want to say liking and subscribing is free, but if you think you might need some new threads coming up this season, you can help us out just a little bit more by going over to shop.rblrsports.com and checking out all of the designs that we've got cooked up. There will be a link in the description, and if you like any of those things, please use the promo code COYR to get 10% off of your order. That is the promo code COYR, 10% off of your order, and you can check out and hopefully wear some of your RBLR merch, maybe to the game this upcoming weekend. I hope you already have it, because it probably won't ship before then. But if you already have some RBLR shop merch, then you can wear it when we play Naples in the USL Jägermeister Cup. Let's do our preview now. So this Friday, I will say I don't believe the game is at 8, but 8 p.m. is what it looked like when I saw it online. I believe it is at actually 7:30, so I apologize that I wrote the... Yeah. Okay, yes. I wrote the wrong note in our document here that I'm looking at, so I apologize to everyone who's hearing me read what I wrote that is completely incorrect. But 7:30 on Friday. Make sure you don't listen to me. Check your tickets. The Rowdies take on FC Naples in the Jägermeister Cup. This is going to be a very fun game for a lot of reasons. First of all, we have a bus going down there. If you are at all interested, please reach out to Ralph's Mob and see if you can get on that bus. Also, you need to get your tickets to get to the game. You don't need to just get on the bus, but you do need to get your tickets. Even if you're not taking the bus, get your tickets, go down there. It's not that far. I mean, it's not as close as Bradenton or Spring Hill in either direction, but yeah, you got to go. You got to go. It will be, again, July 4th. So the vast majority of people will not have work. You should definitely be there, and you should definitely be cheering on the green and gold against Naples, whom we all already hate. Already. It's been decided. You have to. So at this point in the season, Naples aren't in the best form. They actually haven't won since late May, and that includes three losses and 2 draws since then. They are still roughly playing in the same formation they had. It was previously a 4-1-4-1, but roughly a 4-2-3-1, which is what they have mostly morphed into over the past couple of games. Lalo Delgado should start in net behind Julian Cisneros, Jake Dangler, Breck Evans, and Ian Garrett. Not Break Evans, but Breck Evans, obviously. In front of them will be Kevin O'Connor and Chris Heckenberg, who should be behind Justin Weiss, Luca Perpa, and Jaden Onen, if their last couple of matches are anything to go off of. Carson Henderlong is almost sure to start up top. He has 6 goals over the course of this season, while Jaden Onen and Andres Ferrin have 3. The chance creators for this team are Ferrin and Onen as well, and those are the 2 wingers, so keep that in mind. Ferrin and Onen usually on the left and the right. but Farine has also been used as a frequent substitute. They're going to be the big chance creators, and they are going to be the ones who obviously try to find Carson Henderlong in the middle. Chris Heckenberg is the other player that I wanted to highlight. He and Kevin O'Connor in the midfield are there too. They sit in front of the back line, and their goal is to stop opponents' attacks every time that they can, move the ball forward, and give it to the players who are a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more creative, have a little bit more speed and guile. And that'll be Justin Weiss, that'll be Jaden Onen, and again, Andres Farine. So those are the ones that they're going to be looking out for. This is going to be a very interesting game. We have a lot of options to try and beat them. Jake Dangler and Breck Evans at the back are both very tall. I think they're both 6'4" at least. Possibly Jake Dangler is 6'5". But the point is they have a tall back line. And so it's going to be a little bit more difficult on set pieces. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to get crosses into the box and try and score like that. But if we can move them about, I think that they're also going to be, at the same time, maybe a little bit less mobile. Maybe something that Wubens Passius can benefit from. Maybe Manuel Arteaga can use his strength on the ball to lay a pass off to somebody who's running into the box a little bit later, be that Luis Alvarez, Ollie Bassett, or as we saw last week, Lewis Hilton will even take a good shot from outside the box. I would not mind seeing that again. But there are lots of options to try and beat this team. At the same time, it should be noted, Naples are still organized despite their current struggles, let's say. They are a so well-organized team, and at the same time, they are a team who are this is going to be, for the rest of their season, unless they get into the playoffs, this is going to be the biggest game that they play. They already have a little bit of a history with the Tampa Bay Rowdies. We came out on top in a game that we probably shouldn't have back in Naples in the Open Cup. We beat them on penalties. It's going to sting. These players and the fans who were there are all going to remember that. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of attitude on the field. It's going to be very bad conditions because of the heat, possibly the rain. It's also going to be on turf. Keep that in mind. So all of these things play into their favor. And I think that Naples will really, really, really want to win this one. But I think that we're in the better spot to get the result.
Yeah. I hope we also really, really want to win this one. Like, I know for some championship teams, the Jägermeister Cup might be kind of an afterthought. Especially if you're pushing for, first place in the championship. It seems like that might be the case with Charleston, who's really struggled in the Jägermeister Cup.
Yeah.
Despite, not really throwing it away either. They're playing a lot of their starters. But they've struggled in this one, including against Naples, right? Naples is a solid team, like you said. They had an incredible start to the year. They went like 9 games undefeated before dropping the game after the Open Cup game against us. I forgot who they played, but I just know they lost after they played us. They've still only lost 1 game at home, which is pretty impressive, despite kind of the poor run of form recently. They've got a couple draws in there, of course, but they're solid at home. They're certainly solid. You'll remember that the Jägermeister Cup also has the fun little addition of having penalties at the end of it if it's still at a draw, which I guess now we're used to playing in penalties down in Naples. So, hey, that won't be a surprise to us. But like you said, the field's a little wonky. We've heard about how it doesn't really run super well, the ball on the turf down there. It's a little narrow. It's just kind of a wacky field that obviously they play their games at. So they have a bit more, I guess it's a little bit of an advantage, but still, you're used to turf at this point if you've played in the USL Championship for at least a season. Not a huge excuse anymore, but certainly challenging conditions. Like you said, heat, turf, probably some rain. Could be a bit of a messy game, but based on how they're playing recently, based on how we're looking recently-ish, I feel like we have a really good opportunity to go down there and kind of build our momentum even more. Even though it's not a league game, you still want to qualify into the playoff round. It's a knockout round of the Jägermeister Cup, and this would be a really, really good opportunity to do that, put you in first place. if you get the win here against Naples. Especially important, by the way, because like we've said, Charleston has dropped a few games in this tournament already, and they're looking rather unlikely to make it to the next round. That would have likely been most people's pick to make it into the next round, probably in first place as well in this group. Yeah. So they're almost out of the picture, right? Good opportunity to take advantage of this, take advantage of Charleston's spot in the table right now in this group. Go down to a struggling-ish Naples at the moment and get a good result. And again, more importantly, build on the momentum that we're building more broadly this season. This is the first game in a rather long road trip we have coming up. It'd be a good way to start on the winning foot, right? And of course, here's my plug again to go down to this game because, like I said, it'll be our first of many away games for the next month or so. So go down there and definitely send the boys off on the road trip on a good note here. So yeah, this is a game that it's close enough to where I really do think we should be getting a lot of people traveling down there. I think we are getting a good chunk of people, and I'm hoping there's even more than the ones I know of, and really make it feel a bit like Al Lang Stadium. Again, it's close, 2 hours away, drivable. Not really a bad drive at all on the way back as well after the game. Hopefully it's an earlier start than 8 p.m. Makes it an easier drive home. But if you're going on the bus, there's still a little bit of space like we keep saying. So definitely check out the Ralph's Mob Twitter. There's some information on there. Reach out to anybody over there. I'm sure they'll get you in touch with the right people. It's a good opportunity, James. I really don't want to let it go to waste. Great win this past week against Indy. Plenty of time to rest up and recoup. Get the boys ready and fresh for a big game on Friday. And of course, it's not a very long road trip for the guys either. So let's make it feel like a home game. Let's get down there in good numbers and go down there and get a win. James, anything to add here before we throw in the RBLR predictions?
I do want to add one quick thing. This is going to go back to another podcast that I follow that is related to soccer, where effectively they try and keep track of either the weirdest things that you can see from the stadium or the weirdest things that are technically a part of the stadium. And this one is not a part of the stadium, but it is visible from most of it. There is a water slide right next door, and you can see that from the stadium. So if you want a real oddity of American soccer, the American soccer landscape, go to FC Naples and cheer on the Rowdies while you're there. And you can see the Wolf Lodge from the background and possibly hear whoever's using the water slide at that time.
Yeah. It looks like a cool little stadium, James. They got a good thing going. They have a supporters group going that has some good rhythm and culture to it. A lot of Hispanic style support with the flags and the trapos, like the long banners that they have. But again, we really should be making this feel a bit like a home game. So get down there, good numbers, out chant them, and let's make sure we get those 3 points. We'll do everything we can in the stands, obviously, but I think the guys on the field are going to have a really, really good opportunity here, James, to build some momentum for sure.
Yeah. Let's get into our predictions, and we're going to go backwards to front now. Eureka has provided his prediction, and that is a 2-1 win. I think I've said this in the past, but sometimes I'll try and hedge my bets and I'll go, well, what am I sometimes I'm just going to go straight up. The very first thought that I had when I looked at who was playing and I looked at the prior results. And for this one, I thought Tampa Bay Rowdies 3-0 win. So 2-1 win for Eureka, 3-0 win for me. Carlos, what are you going with?
I am going to go with a 2-0 win. And that's a little scary because Naples scores a good chunk of goals. Their last scoreless game was back on April 19th against Knoxville, which was actually the first game of the season that they lost. And all their games after that, whether they've lost or drawn or won, they're scoring at least a goal a game, more often than that too. So they can score some goals, and they score in chunks as well. Definitely going to be a tough one. We saw that we can't take you've seen, if you've watched any of the Jägermeister Cup, you've seen that you can't really take any League One team for granted. There's not a huge gap in talent between the two divisions at the moment. But especially playing them away, especially a Naples squad that we know is really talented and started the year so well. This is a funny game, you're really just kind of one win away from refinding that form that they had at the beginning of the year. So, and like you said, it's a big game for them as well. The Rowdies are one of the bigger brands in U.S. soccer, one of the more recognizable names, and certainly in Florida, in the west coast of Florida, right? So they'll definitely want to, make something happen down at home and maybe thinking about getting revenge for that Open Cup elimination. So all that being said, it'll be a tough one. I feel good. 2-0 win feels right. It feels like, again, a great opportunity to go out there and string together back-to-back wins.
Which is what we want, in addition to Carlos's coveted clean sheet. So, with that, we will move on from the preview. But Carlos, there is an extra time segment that you really wanted to hit on. I did not list this, but now that I saw it, I think that it is now that I've seen it, I think that it is something that's pretty weird, pretty interesting.
Yeah, I saw this earlier today through the I always forget the name of it, like Hudson River Blue, Hudson Blue. I gotta find it again. I'm sorry. But the report is that from people, I don't know what people, but they're saying people on the inside and know close to the North New Jersey like expansion team that they're going to add in League One. That was announced, maybe within the last year, that there's going to be a team added over there in Paterson, New Jersey. That's not anything new. What is new is that they might be using the Cosmos name as the club name, right? Who knows about the legal stuff around the name and the logo and whatnot and what that means for their actual ability to use the name. But the indication is that they want to, which is pretty fun. Obviously, well, I'm not going to say obviously. I don't know if there's any connection between the NASL Cosmos and this potential Cosmos, if there's any overlap in ownership or anything. It's on HudsonRiverBlue.com. That's where I saw the article. Michael Batista covers New York area soccer and whatnot. And it's pretty interesting. Like, regardless of if there's any connection there or not, I'm sure the very hard-headed and stubborn Cosmos fan base that exists in New York would be thrilled to have a team with the name and the logo back in the New York area. It's in New Jersey. Maybe they're the New Jersey Cosmos. At some point in the 70s, the Cosmos were just the Cosmos. They weren't the New York Cosmos while they were playing in East Rutherford in New Jersey. So who knows? Maybe we're playing just the Cosmos. Maybe we're playing the New Jersey Cosmos. Maybe we're playing the New York Cosmos, and it feels like the old days. Who knows if they'll use the same logo, right? There's a bunch of questions about the, trademark law, boring stuff, whatever. But it's fun news. I think it's cool. The Cosmos have been a big brand in soccer, obviously, since back in the old NASL days.
Yeah.
We've had great games with them in the NASL, the modern NASL days and the old NASL days. But I remember some great games against them in the modern NASL. And it's been fun. It was good times. They were always heated games. I'm sure it'll take a while if you want to rebuild that sense of rivalry again, especially since they're in League One, right? But it's cool. It's cool to have them around again if this is true. It's good for soccer. If this whole pro-rel thing works out in USL, it's an opportunity for the Cosmos to one day be a first division team again, which is a fascinating possibility. Someone pointed out that there's a Fort Lauderdale team in the USL now. There's a obviously Tulsa is here. Like there's a lot of indie. It feels like the kind of modern NASL crew is getting back together. Miami FC is still around, barely. But I think it would be the biggest of them all if the Cosmos come back in some way, shape, or form and join the umbrella of the United Soccer League. So cool stuff. I'm excited. That stadium where they're going to play at, by the way, Hinchcliffe Stadium or Hinchliffe Stadium in Paterson. Pretty sweet, 10,000 person stadium, super old. It was the home to, what was it? I always forget the names of, I don't know much about baseball, but at that time, the Black Yankees forget the name of the team. I don't know anything about baseball, but that's where they played back in like the 20s and stuff. So that's pretty cool. There's some cool baseball history there. Share that with Al Lang, right? But it's a really cool renovated 10,000 person stadium over there. And they have a great, if they run with this Cosmos thing, they have a great platform to build off of. There's, again, plenty of hard-headed Cosmos fans that will stick around and refuse to support NYCFC or the Red Bulls. I would imagine they're pretty excited about this, but who knows? So still a possibility. It looks like it's a really good possibility, but certainly nothing confirmed yet. But go check it out. HudsonRiverBlue.com. He has Michael wrote a great article here that goes pretty in depth on the complications around like trademark law and everything. So if that's interesting to you, go check it out. Again, Hudson River Blue, some great stuff over there on this. But again, just really cool, really exciting. Just bring back the Armada. Like, I don't know why we haven't. I can give you my Jacksonville soccer spiel later on, but at least the Cosmos are back, and that's fun. Maybe back.
Right. Carlos, the only thing that this makes me think is that you need to reach out to one of those Washington area USL or UPSL teams from, I guess, USL2, and you should try and get them to be the Washington Diplomats and then get them to self-promote up the ladder. Yeah,
bring them back. The Dips. Bring back the Railhawks. Why did NCFC switch up on us like that? Bring back the Railhawks. FC Tulsa, boring. Give me the Roughnecks, right? There's teams out there that have fun names like the Rowdies, but they're going what's the word? I don't know. What's the word for like the modern aesthetic where everything's just kind of like cleaner? Like, like all the teams in Europe.
Corporatized.
Yeah. I like 70s Americana. You know what I mean? Tampa Bay Rowdies. Give me a bright yellow Western style font on my team that makes almost no sense, but let's run with it because it's ours. You know what I mean? Tampa Bay Rowdies, Tulsa Roughnecks, Carolina Railhawks. Bring them back, James. I miss it. Well, not the Rowdies. We're already back, but bring those back.
Exactly. All right. Well, with that, I will say thank you, listeners, for tuning in. You can follow RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky, anywhere, and you can get all of this information and more. You can also follow me if you would like on Twitter at RBLRJamesK. You can use the hashtag AskRBLR, or you can reach Carlos
at CarlosTPA10. I just retweeted Michael's tweet with the article and the news that North Jersey Pro Soccer is trying to use the Cosmos name. So if you're looking for it, check it out at CarlosTPA10. Just shared it. I follow him at Michael Batista. Soccer, Rowdies, NASL coming back. Not really, but teams are, so that's fun.
There we go. Like and subscribe to our podcast where you can hear us talk about all of this and more, talking about which teams we would like to see come back from the NASL. I think that might be an interesting list for us to do.
Sure.
But you can get the full experience on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts. Again, basically anywhere you are, we are too.
Anywhere.
So for a win in the books and hopefully one coming up in the Jager Cup, which you should all go to, come on, you Rowdies.
Get on the bus.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.